What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your Star Citizen Week in Review for April 3rd, 2023. Apparently, there are now 2 PTUs. We also saw Bounty Hunter V2 be teased, and the most important update this week was the sneak peek. All that and more on today's Week in Review. And as always, if this is your first Star Citizen Week in Review, that's where I take all of the official news coming out of CIG, put it into one video, and share some of my opinions about it. I also live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/SaltEMike, every day but Monday, so I can get this video out to you guys. And we got a lot to go over this week, so let's see what's going on with patch 318. And we'll start out with Monday, where we got a 3.18.1 PTU. And, well, this is a little bit different than normal PTU tests in my experience. This was all about hotfixes, and they shared the testing focus there, making sure that we knew what was going on and what to, address our feedback around the patch with that. But, yeah, we've seen a lot of bug fixes in most PTU patches. This section is really small. They only addressed the issue around the being stuck in a seat, which was a royal pain, and then we're explained a little bit more about those hotfixes. For Tuesday, this patch is even more different in terms of testing focus, where they're doing load testing on their end. Basically, at this point, I don't see there's no way we're going to get the numbers and concurrency in the game that they saw with 318 Live. So they have to work on their tools to do load testing to never have to experience this again. And then for bug fixes, I guess the Monday fix did not work, so they tried to fix the stuck in seat bug again. I'm sure it's going to work this time, for sure this time, right, guys? And then for Thursday, this is where all the non-backend issues were fixed. A number of exploits that people are really abusing right now should be fixed, and we were able to give crime stat when we were criminals to the bounty hunters. It was kind of crazy, so that one's fixed. I hope salvagers will be able to rejoice. They should have fixed some things around the Reclaimer elevator and that pesky situation where you were hull scraping and nothing was going into the hoppers. For the 2 Antares owners out there, your QED is not going to be as damaged when you have your shields down. And lastly, they fixed 20 crashes. For release schedule, this one's kind of funny. This was posted in my Twitch chat, and it was on Reddit, so I just came across that and kind of laughed. Basically, I asked the question of, will the 0.2 patch be the release, basically the live release, or will we get a live release of 0.1 and 0.2? Because it seemed like 0.1 was just focused testing for their end at this point, but it looks like we're going to get a 0.1 patch and then soon after a 0.2 patch, and then they'll focus on getting 319 into the PTU, I guess. So for me, based on the information that I'm seeing, it feels like your 0 to hero runs should start in 0.2 and not in the 0.1, because you never know what kind of wipes will happen in between. That's it for this week's patches. Not much going on here. It's pretty frustrating. I know people are dealing with 40,000 errors as well, and when they recover from them, their accounts are being wiped. I discussed this on Answer the Call this week, and I feel like there's going to be a full wipe. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think, and then we'll jump into some video updates. We had an ISC and an SCL this week. Inside Star Citizen was titled 150. It was an all sprint report edition, and they started out with the 600i turret. This was an onboard task for a new hire, so no big deal there. The Argo SRV, they gave us a much closer look at the ship, but nothing crazy really for it. Not in action, basically. And then the RSI Lynx. This is our first look at the ground vehicle that comes with the Phoenix, and I gotta say, I agree with Jared. The tires look amazing. The Crusader Spirit, this is really a great way to see the difference between what final art looks like with the SRV and what Greybox looks like with the Crusader Spirit. And they also showed the Bombay with that. The Santokiai, we got a good look at further along Greybox, and just curious how this will do in combat, because it is, I think, a medium or heavy fighter, and those typically aren't they're not the meta right now. And then for Boyds, we talk about this on the monthly report. This is just the little animals that will help build out the world as we explore it. It's not really fauna how we would like to see them. Then interactables, they're just physicalizing everything they can now. So they did some cool stuff with posters as well. It feels like they're actively thinking about player-owned housing, which is pretty nice. Grasping weevil eggs. This was a really short section of the video, but they showed this contraband in a number of different sizes. And yeah, these aren't new. These were introduced into the 3.18.0 PTU. So I think this is a hint at something else. The location that they're in, which is most likely what they're talking about here, but it could even be crafting because there's all different sizes of them. And yeah, I just found it to be an interesting little hint. Then we had Hurston atmosphere updates. This is just adding a little bit more pollution at the surface level to make the place feel better with the new Hurston update that's coming in 3.19. Microtech Forest, just a small update on these. Crusader Hotel clusters. More mission locations for Crusader, which seems like we might get lawful versions as well as some unlawful as well. And Hurston Security Station. This is the first look at law enforcement offices, which is how we will interact with the new bounty hunting updates in the future. This is what I hinted at in the beginning of the show. I like this a lot, but at the same time, I'm curious how it's going to work from a player bounty standpoint. Jared stated that there will be an update later on this year, but it also looks like everything a bounty hunter could need is here, but so did the cargo decks. So let's hope they don't fall the same fate. And then it's nice that if you didn't notice, there's a little personal belongings spot. And it looks like instead of just getting your stuff back automatically when you leave prison, you're going to be able to have to, go to these panels or these places and collect your items, which I think is kind of cool. And then building interiors. This is our first look really at building interiors aside from concept art, and they showed them on Microtech. It's super early, but everything looks really roomy, and I can't wait to see this progress. Procedural tools, they showed a tool on how they make space clinics. Converting old assets. They showed some character art assets that they're converting, as well as situations where they can spawn in different states of wear and tear, and then more Hurston. They ended the show with a number of screens of the lighting at Hurston 2.0, which looks great. Then we had a Star Citizen Live titled AI Sprint Report, and I sort of like this format because it was the game dev, but not where it's so technical and the game dev is taking an hour to do a project that takes forever. It was a director's cut showing videos of a ton of work that was done. So we got to cover a ton of topics, and it was really cool. And they started out with what I think is probably the most important AI addition to the game to date.
There was a different perception, not a different perception, but usually vehicles could perceive vehicles and NPCs could perceive NPCs. Then, of course, our perception system is based on senses. So they could add and use different senses. For example, characters have a radar. They could receive radar information. I would just lower a little bit the volume because it's just my headsets otherwise. And what we tried to combine here was basically the work related to perceive from audio stimuli related to vehicles, but also visual stimuli.
So it's very simple. AI are going to be able to perceive ships. If you follow the monthly report, you will also know that AI can use railguns. So places like Whistler's Crypt, they're going to be scary places to try and explore. And then the next update is AI actually being able to revive players.
What did we show? The healer is the last one, something that Jake has been working on. Again, this one is also an internal thing. Animations are definitely not final. These are majority of those animations are, just blockouts that we use to verify the flow. So, just be aware of that. There is some medpen usage, so that NPCs can actually react. One thing that you see is you don't expect the guy to go revive this guy, but these are test behaviors. Mm-hmm. So they don't respect any distance, right? They are really meant for us to make sure that we can test the flow. So the character basically is reviving him, and then he goes back into combat.
You love to see it. Just imagine a security guard at a bunker when you're downed, reviving you instead of you having to wait for a player to do it. That's really great. And then Jared asks him the question.
You've shown us a lot of examples of AI behaviors that are growing, that are becoming more complex, so some advanced tactics and stuff, but we don't often see those behaviors in the live game. Is that I want you to talk about why that is. Is that just strictly bugs, or is that server performance stuff?
I mean, it's a combination of things. First of all, I think we have a lot of streams right now, right? Not a lot, but we have few streams. And whenever we stabilize something, right, not all the new changes go in immediately into that stream. So, for example, in 3.18, you have some of this stuff, and this is where, for example, people see a very high accuracy, because not all the accuracy work is yet in there. For example, we don't have the mercy time. We don't have yet in 3.18 the build up of accuracy over time. Some of the balancing, needs to. One thing I'm always saying is that it's very hard to balance the AI for the server that goes at 30 frames per second or a really low frame rate. So sometimes some of those values are trying to compensate for some of the low frame rate, but then it don't work very well for 30 frames per second or 25 frames per second. That is where people see the accuracy is also very high there, to try to help in some situations, but of course the long run, that's not what we want.
And we got sort of an answer. Yeah, so they're compensating for bad servers, but there's nothing they can really do until the servers are running at a good frame rate, so they can build out the AI interactions and everything the way they know that they should be, but they can't do it yet. So it's kind of frustrating, and who knows when that's going to happen. And then speckled throughout the show, I'm going to go over some rapid fire updates. They showed a lot of things, but not all of it was worth cutting out. NPCs can interact with elevators and use trolleys. We saw that in the monthly report. They can use vents and ladders as well. They also started and updated some start and stop animations, which was pretty cool. They showed AI avoiding hazards like fire. AI now can react to grenades, and that is, of course, if they don't fall at your feet. NPCs can load cargo, but these are just the 1/8 SCU boxes, so they're not utilizing a tractor beam here. I'm not sure this is related to the cargo timers or any major cargo update in terms of loading and unloading. It looks like more immersion style background stuff for Squadron 42 more than anything. Priority areas can be set for NPCs, and they will attack NPCs in that area, or they'll attack other players in that area. This is exciting because they're creating tools that players can use if we ever do have NPC counterparts, but again, this does feel like a Squadron 42 thing for now. Now, that was video updates this week. They are going on hiatus. Not only Inside Star Citizen, but Star Citizen Live will not be here next week. Inside Star Citizen is going to be gone for a month, so we're not going to see an Inside Star Citizen until the beginning of May. It's frustrating, but I do think this is where they gather all of the video that we see in all these updates every quarter, so it kind of is what it is. But let's jump into other updates where I think the most important update is this week. And I can't believe the most important update is a sneak peek, but I really believe it is. From both a server standpoint and a gameplay standpoint, 1 SCU boxes in large quantities are a pain. Moving them is tedious, and they have stated how much of a problem they are in terms of the servers. These appear to be the 32 SCU boxes that you'll see on the Argo Raft, but they also look like there are some half sizes, so 16, and they can possibly be used with the new tractor beam updates, whether it's with the multi-tool or if we do get this larger tractor beam. We need this in 3.19. I really hope this isn't a far out update. I'm so excited for this. Then we had a Galactapedia update. The main article is equivalency, which is basically a high school diploma from what I gathered. And the secondary articles are mostly about other star systems that we won't see for a while. But Front Row was a really interesting one that I thought I would share with you. Link down below to check these out in full. And the Bar Citizen World Tour continues, even though they're doing a CitizenCon in person this year. Jared was in France this weekend. Zyla was in Arizona. So if you guys are interested in checking out Bar Citizens, barcitizen.sc, see if a dev is coming to a city near you. But that'll do it for this week's video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. Leave a like if you did. Leave a comment down below on anything that we discussed today or anything I may have missed, and subscribe for more weeks in review. And guys, I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.